Think about a river so powerful it's carved its way through the world's highest mountains. A river that gave birth to one of our planet's very first cities, and today provides the lifeblood for millions and millions of people. Well, that's the Indus, and this is its story. A story of incredible power, of deep, deep history, and of a very uncertain future.
So, here's the plan for this explainer. We're going to follow its journey across 6 chapters. We'll start at its source, where it gets the name Lion River. Then we'll dive into the civilization it created and the mystery of how it disappeared. And finally, we'll look at its crucial role today and the serious dangers it's now facing.
All right, so let's start our journey way up on the Tibetan Plateau. This is literally the roof of the world, and it's where the Indus begins its life and gets its powerful, ancient name. In Tibetan, it's called Senge Zangbo, which means lion's mouth. How cool is that? The name comes from a spring near the sacred Mount Kailash, and it just perfectly captures this image of raw, untamed power bursting right from the source.
And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're dealing with here, the Indus stretches over 3,000 kilometers long. Its basin, the area it drains, is bigger than a lot of countries. It's a true giant among the world's rivers, not just in length, but in the massive amount of water it carries every year. Now, a river this immense doesn't just carve up landscapes, it carves out history, and the Indus became the cradle for one of the world's first and greatest urban civilizations. But, it's pretty wild to think that, for decades, this incredible civilization was so completely forgotten that people were literally digging up bricks from its ancient cities, like Harappa, and using them to build railway tracks. They were crushing history, bit by bit, without even knowing it.
Then, 1924 happens. An archaeologist, Sir John Marshall, publishes these words, and it sends shockwaves through the world. He was basically announcing the rediscovery of a lost world, one that was just as old and just as important as ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia.
And listen, we're not talking about some flash-in-the-pan settlement. The Indus Valley Civilization was around for almost 2,000 years. Its most advanced urban period lasted for 7 centuries. That's a long time to build a stable, complex society. So, what did it actually look like? What was life like in these ancient cities? Well, their ingenuity was just on another level. And in so many ways, they were just way ahead of their time.
I mean, these cities were masterpieces of engineering. We're talking about streets laid out in a perfect grid, the world's first known urban sanitation systems, and get this, they used standardized baked bricks. That level of planning and uniformity is just mind-blowing for that era. It tells you this was a highly organized society.
And let's just take a second to appreciate the human scale here. At its height, this civilization was home to maybe 5 million people. Not only was it advanced, it was huge, the most widespread of the 3 great early civilizations of its time.
Okay, so this is where things get really mysterious. If this civilization was so big, so sophisticated, what on earth happened to it? How did these thriving cities just disappear?
Well, more and more evidence points to one culprit: water. It seems a huge river system that they depended on, the Gagar Hakra, started to dry up because of a shift in the climate. Once that lifeblood became unreliable, the very foundation of their cities started to crumble, and people had to leave.
And if that wasn't mysterious enough, get this. We can't read their writing. The Indus script, with its hundreds of unique symbols, is still one of history's great unsolved codes. All their stories, their knowledge, their beliefs, they're locked away, waiting for someone to find the key. Okay, let's fast forward a few thousand years. The ancient cities are ruins, but the Indus River itself is just as critical as it ever was. Today, it's the modern backbone of Pakistan.
I mean, the river is literally the primary water source for the entire country's economy. It waters the farmlands of the Punjab province, the nation's breadbasket, and it provides drinking water for millions of people in a very dry part of the world. And when you look at how that water is used, it's just, wow. The vast majority of it goes to agriculture. That just shows you how absolutely essential the Indus is for feeding the entire region. It's not just important, it's indispensable.
But here's the tough part of the story. This modern lifeline, this ancient, vital river, it's in big trouble. It's facing a whole cocktail of modern threats that are putting its future and the lives that depend on it at risk.
And this isn't something that's happened over centuries. This has been incredibly fast and devastating. Since the 1940s, things like dams and irrigation have cut the amount of fresh water reaching the Indus Delta by over 80%. That's not a reduction. That's starving an entire ecosystem.
And on top of losing its water, the river is literally choking on our trash. Today, the Indus is the second biggest source of plastic pollution for the entire world's oceans. What a tragic thing to happen to such a historic river. But the biggest, most existential threat might be coming from way up in the mountains. Climate change is melting the Himalayan glaciers that feed the Indus, and it's happening fast. As this expert from the World Bank puts it, they have very nasty fears that the river's flow could be severely affected.
And you can see the results of this crisis everywhere you look. We're talking about unique wildlife like the Indus River dolphin being threatened by pollution, farmland becoming too salty to grow crops, and at the same time, you have these massive, catastrophic floods fueled by the same changing climate. The whole system is just being pushed to its breaking point.
So that leaves us with a pretty heavy question, right? A great civilization rose and fell on these banks, partly because their environment changed. Today, we understand the threats in a way they never could. We see it coming. The real question is, will we do anything about it? Can our civilization succeed where theirs couldn't and save this incredible river?